Good day, people. Today I'm going to be talking more about the Constitution and our country and some political philosophies, if you will. There were some things that I didn't know that I learned, or if I did know them, I had forgotten them. So let's start. Our country, born in 1776, is the offspring of religious-based heritage of liberty under law. Here, the government cannot legitimately redistribute the wealth, assume power over the people's lives, and dominate man's existence with oppressive taxation, regulations, and controls. According to the founders, our government was to be a negative force that leaves people alone. Its sole function is to protect citizens from one another, from other governments, foreign governments, and especially from their own government itself. It was not created as a positive force to do good things for people. For example, to offer universal basic income and welfare technologies. It just was not based upon that philosophy. Our founding fathers realized that for a government to give to a citizen, it must take from another citizen, and therefore taking control over both. And if you really think about it, if you really earnestly think about it, it is true. It's very, very true. These are the basic forms of government that we have out there in the world. You have a monarchy, which is ruled by one person, an oligarchy, which is ruled by a few, democracy, which is ruled by the majority. Some would call it mob rule. You have a republic, which is ruled by the law. Everybody's ruled by the law, the government and the people. And then you have anarchy, where there is no rule, no government. And let's start with anarchy. There are some people that do believe in anarchy. However, in an anarchical, if that's a correct term, society, you would have no freedom. You wouldn't have freedom to travel, because if you went somewhere, someone's going to go to your house and steal your stuff, or hurt whoever you left there. You can't take your stuff with you because you'll get robbed on the trail. And so anarchy is not a viable form of government. I think we can all agree with that. A monarchy doesn't really exist in practice. It doesn't anymore. There are no kings or queens that are the sole ruler. There are always groups that put up one person to be the figurehead. So monarchy does not exist. It is basically an oligarchy, which is ruled by a few. The problem with being ruled by a few, of course, tyranny follows. Now let's look at a democracy. Everybody talks about democracy. It's a threat to our democracy. And it sounds great, you know, when you kind of look at it. However, there are some problems with it. There are some systemic problems with democracy. It's mob rule. If 51% of the population says that you should give up your house and your children, or even crazy things, it's going to happen, because that's what happens in a democracy. The mob rules. And that's, you know, that ends up in anarchy. And then, of course, when you have anarchy, eventually the people just beg for somebody to take back control. And who are the people that are able to take back control? the very same people that started the anarchy. And so this is a historical fact of what happens and what has happened in many societies. Democracy does not work. And you can see some quotes by some very famous people. Famous people such as James Madison, who has been called the father of the Constitution, Alexander Hamilton, and Samuel Adams, in that order. And if you look at the word democracy and the etymology of it, demo meaning people, kratian meaning to rule, the people to rule. Historically, it's never worked. It didn't work in Greece. There was a Greek, I guess, philosopher who actually came up with and urged for a fixed body of laws called basically what we call a republic. The Greeks didn't take it on. However, the Romans did at one time, and it was fantastic because the government was very limited. The people were able to produce, prosper, and they had an understanding that they were going to keep the fruits of their labor. Eventually, they were not truant in making sure their government did not get too powerful and overreaching, and then eventually it went bad. And so the people there's a high level of responsibility in a republic for the people to be watching. I don't care if the person that was elected, literally whenever he spoke, you heard angels. Okay, I'm exaggerating, but even that person should be watched and questioned. What did you do? Why did you do it? To affirm that they are being virtuous. It seems logical to me. It didn't until I had to start learning this technology, but it certainly does seem logical to me at this point. And I assume it would to you. Now, if you look at the word republic, res meaning thing, publica meaning public, the public thing, the law. And if you really think about it, the government is constrained by the law. The government cannot do anything that you can't do, that you don't have the right to do. The government has less privileges, liberties, whatever you would call it, and rights than you do as a living soul, if you comprehend, how to adjudicate that presence, your status, your standing, and your true name, and using correct language and procedure, because procedure is a thing in this realm, in this world. There's no way we're going to get out of that anytime soon at this point. And so this is really, really interesting when you start learning about the different forms of government. Republic being, I think, the best. Our founders realized that some amount of government is a necessary force in any civilized and orderly society. But you got to remember, the government is a force, a negative force, to be limited greatly. Even if the people that were in office were all highly virtuous and earnest people, they should be watched like hawks, because we're all men. We all have the capacity to be bad and good. Now, fast forward to today. How many virtuous people are in there now? Making decisions, passing legislation completely for corporations. Is it their fault more than your fault? Nope. We have to start learning. We have to start reading. watching videos. And it's a new age. You can watch videos and get fantastic information for which years ago you had to paw through law books and read books by Manly P. Hall and Neville Goddard and all of these amazing people, Terence McKenna, Alan Watts. So all of the ammunition for you in this knowledge revolution is out there. You just have to seek it. Swipe by the TikTok video or or the video on YouTube that looks really compelling about aliens or something. Because this hits home first, right? It has to hit home first, meaning you're in this environment of contract and procedure and law and knowledge versus the lack thereof. One giving you great power and peace and freedom, the other binding you in chains. Your subconscious knows you're bound, but your conscious mind is in abject fear from getting sick, getting arrested, paying a fine, losing your job, have to pay taxes. Most of these things are unconstitutional. Not only to be not feared, but to be thrown out. And if need be, the ones who perpetrated them to be prosecuted. That's all I got for you today. I hope you enjoyed it. Appreciate y'all. I hope you're learning. Take care.